All right, so
I have to give you a little bit of credit for this.
Yeah, we can overdub it later. Just
I haven't had any crazy stories about. Oh wait, no, I do. I got robbed at gunpoint, mugged.
Checking for me, but I ain't checking for them. No.
sleazy real estate guys. But all right, so another episode of the EP podcast here. We have our official first lady guest of the EP podcast, none other than Natalie Wisleur.
It's about time a woman's on here.
The amount of times I have heard, Emilio, you got a sausage fest going on here. When are you going to get a lady on here? I was like, dude, I mean, like, take it easy on me here, man. I'm over here doing this all myself. But I am so happy you're here. I haven't seen you in so long. Known you for a long time now. But thank you for coming here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
We spoke about a month ago, and I was like, hey, Natalie. Well, the last time you spoke to me, the last time we hung out
in person
was I was going through my producer phase.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it.
My producer phase when I'm going through my podcast stage, I'll call it. So yeah, thank you for being here. I'm excited to talk about it. We have a few things to talk about. We want to talk about your upbringing here, your modeling career, what you do now, wedding and event planning, veganism, and just personal growth. I know nothing about veganism, so you're the person to go.
I'm ready to educate
about this because you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't we go at it? Let's just start with upbringing. So Natalie, where are you from?
I'm from Delaware.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Perfect. What area in Delaware?
Newark.
Newark? Okay. Where did you go to school?
Many places.
Okay. High school?
St. Mark's High School.
St. Mark's. I did not know that.
Yeah.
There you go. I went to Dickinson.
Oh, boy. How was that?
You don't go to McDonald's and expect steakhouse.
That's, yeah. I mean...
It's the best way I can put it. Jesse, don't laugh because you went to McCain.
Hey, man, we can't have money by the time we was going.
Yo, right. Dude, I've walked through you guys' hallways. It's literally a maze. But,
we have a farm. We got a kitchen. We got a radio room.
Did you say a farm?
They do. They have a group called Future Farmers of America.
Okay.
That's literally what they specialize in. But
oh, wow.
But okay, so you went to St. Mark's. What was that like?
Terrible. I've always hated school.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Like from beginning to end.
I mean, like, I enjoyed my friends that I met there, but I've never been into school. So I was always like, since first grade, can't wait till it's over.
Did you go to college?
I did.
Okay, where'd you go?
Philadelphia University, which is now no longer its name. So it's called Jefferson.
Jefferson, okay.
I was in the East Falls campus.
Okay, so
I don't know if you know Manayunk.
Who?
Manayunk, do you know? It's towards Philly. But
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I know is like the Wawa up the street.
Okay.
So, so you rather than staying in Delaware, you decided to go to PA.
I had to because I jumped around school so much when I was younger. Yeah.
So it wasn't even like by choice. It was just like.
Oh no! I mean, I just like said to myself, I was like, I can't stay.
Okay, and what did you study over there?
So I originally went in for interior design, and then along the way I switched to communications, and then graduated with a communications degree specializing in visual and strategic communications with a minor in interior design.
Okay. And what was your biggest takeaway of your college experience?
Honestly, I didn't expect to go to college, so when I did end up going, I thought I was going to regret it, and I definitely didn't. I met, like, a lot of really cool people, probably some of my favorite people ever. So I'm really glad that I went and have them in my life now. And you still connect with a lot of them today? Mm-hmm. Do you connect with those people in the same level that you do with the people from St. Mark's, or no? Yes and no. Some I do, some I don't. Okay.
So, yeah, so the reason I ask is because what I've been told with education is when you're in middle school, you become friends with a lot of people, and then high school gets smaller, and then college it becomes smaller, and after that it becomes even smaller. Mm-hmm. So it's cool that you're still able to keep in touch with some of them.
Yeah.
But going into how I met you at a private country club, the Wilmington Country Club over in Greenville. And how did you start there?
That's a good question. I think I had been thinking about event planning, and I knew that they had a lot of events there. So I went in thinking that I was going to work on the event side, and then somehow I got hired not on the event side, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm here now. So I just went with it.
You were looking to work like banquets or stuff like that? Okay.
But that's not what they hired me for.
Yeah, that's not how it worked out, huh? But yeah, that's how we I didn't know that's how you ended up. So how did you find the club?
I think it was like my dad's friend told me that I should apply there. I think.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I think we've known each other now for like 7 years.
Yeah, I think I started working there my sophomore year of college, summer.
7 years. That's
maybe junior year of college.
Approaching a decade. We're getting old now. But okay, and you worked there for how long?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
You're really quizzing me. I don't know. Like, I think
because it was on and off, right? It was on and off.
Yeah, it was kind of on and off. So that's hard. But I think like a little bit before COVID, I stopped working.
Right.
there.
Well, you wanted the only ones that stopped.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew, but a lot of people got laid out.
Yes.
And by a lot, I mean everybody.
Literally everyone.
Yeah, laid off. But okay, and working. Okay, and this is something I asked for because a lot of the people that have came on here, I met through the Wilmington Country Club, and I personally thought that working at the club was a somewhat of a different experience, just versus anywhere else.
Okay.
What was working at the club like for you? Was it just another job for you? What was it like for you?
I mean, to me, like it was a good job. I don't think I was like ecstatic about it.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, I met like a lot of nice people there, so I didn't mind being there.
Yeah. And then she met me. No, but I remember we used to everybody from the group, we all used to hang out. We would occasionally go bowling.
Yes.
Right? Those are our bowling days.
Bowling nights.
Those are so fun.
Yeah.
What's up?
I feel upset.
Jesse has a question.
I never got the official invite.
I don't think you ever came, did you?
I never came. There was no official invite.
I feel like you
Did
were
you
there.
leave the club by then?
Were you invited to those? Juan, actually, were you invited to those?
I think he did go. Yeah, you went.
Did you guys do? I think I went to.
You weren't even working there at the time.
No.
Yeah.
That was like early days. That
Early
was like the
days.
first year, and everybody was like very tight knit, and we all used to hang out. And then I feel like it kind of fell apart after, a couple people started to leave.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we used to. Yeah, we didn't just go bowling. We would like literally go to like out to places and just party it up. Just have parties at each other's house.
In your room
Oh, jeez.
with your one bottle
Should
of
we
champagne.
uncover that a little bit?
I'd love to.
Oh God. Okay, so and this living didn't change like literally until just 4 years ago. That's the funny part. So I guess it would be like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Okay.
People would occasionally come over to my place, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and we didn't have what would be the living room furnished, and it was just essentially the dining area with a table, and that was about it. And then it's like a dorm, but not a dorm, because some of the dorms today even come furnished.
Yeah.
Right? So when I would bring people over, I would entertain in my room. Which, looking back now, it sounds kind of creepy.
I feel like, I don't know. I mean, we were younger, so I feel like at
we
that
weren't
point,
thinking of
it's like,
anything.
nobody
So-
knows what's going on.
So the very vivid, and the only reason I remember it so clearly is because you were very adamant about calling me out about it.
I wouldn't let it go. I still won't let it go.
And what you wouldn't actually. Can you tell us that what you wouldn't let go since you wouldn't let it go?
Yeah, I mean, so we come into the room. There's like 5 of us, I think, and
And mind you,
just-
this is a very small room. This is like an 100 square foot room.
Yeah. So he brings us into the room, and he's got his computer there with his, desk. Yeah, he's got like a microphone like sitting on the table, and then the bed. And he's like, "Yeah, you guys can just hang out on my bed." He's sitting in his like official desk chair, and then just next to it is this mini bottle of champagne, just one. Not chilled, not open. It's just sitting there. And I was like, do you like sit in here like by yourself and drink champagne and like make beats? Like, what's going on? Like, what is happening here?
even know where to start with that.
And then he showed us his beats. So
Look, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Those beats would go off today. Those beats would go off today. You ever seen Back to the Future?
no.
You never seen Back to the Future?
Listen, don't get me started on the shows and movies I haven't seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm not one to say anything about that, but I would think back. Okay, so then Back to the Future, Marty McFly, is that what his name was? He knew how to play. You would know this better than anyone, I think, Jack. Have you seen Back to the Future?
A long time ago.
Okay, where he would play like a guitar solo, like hard, like what kind of music was it? Yeah, rock music. It wasn't a thing at the time. So he went back and he played at his mom and dad's prom, I think it was, and then he played rock and no one heard it before. So
Nobody had heard the song or
no one
rock
heard
music?
like that genre.
Oh, okay.
So people were going crazy about it. It's like, whoa, what is this? But they weren't ready for it at that time. So I say that to say that people
Yeah.
weren't ready for my kind of music at that
Yeah,
time.
we'll go with that one. Yeah.
Oh, you're just like that.
Yeah, just like it. Just like it. And
Origin story right here.
and the best way I could put it is that SpongeBob episode song thingy that it goes like beep boop beep bop beep beep, all that stuff like that. It's like the Bikini Bottom song by
The
Ice
futuristic one.
Yeah, exactly. It's what it was. Exactly what it was. But yeah, back in the day, I used to produce music on FL Studio for fun. It was my creative outlet.
Yeah.
And then I would have bottles of Prosecco just laid out for people when they would come over. I would never drink alone. No, I would never do that.
Yeah?
No, I
Never?
wouldn't. No,
Not
no.
once.
No, those were I was indulging in other activities back in those days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was doing music, and then I even did. I don't know if that happened as that was happening, but I also did a little bit of fashion.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
I mean, I feel like you've always been into fashion, no?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even gonna bring that one up because I'm gonna embarrass myself because I don't know if you were there or not. But I remember very specifically I had asked you if you were open to, like, taking pictures in a few of the pieces I had made. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah. So I had actually. She doesn't remember that. Honestly, that's probably the best thing. That is the best thing. I will say this, so on your behalf, I will say that you were open to it. All right, that's what you said.
Okay.
This photo shoot never came to existence, by the way, and neither did the line. But it was it was fun while it lasted. It was you get creative and then you realize the logistics of running a business, and then that's when reality hits you in the face. So we would have fun and just drink at our very room temperature Prosecco's, and you just you just would never let it go. Even now, freaking 7 years later, even now, well, you know what? We have Prosecco's and they're very chilled. Actually.
I'm waiting for it.
All right.
Like,
well,
where is
after
it?
this, we will have a glass of Prosecco. I think we actually have one glass left, to be honest with you.
Okay. That's me. That's for me.
Yes.
Was it the room that messed you up because it was small, or was it the room temperature percent? Like what made you really like what is going on?
It was somebody's asking about what threw me off about this experience, and I think it was the combination of decor, introduction, and limited seating.
What? It's not that different from today.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Were you like at the foot of the bed, or were you like at like
scrunched up,
like the headrest? Where were you chilling?
I think I was at the foot of the bed, and there was like, we were like all lined up, but there was like 5 of us, like sitting along.
Jesse asked where exactly in the bed she was sitting. I might have to cancel these live recordings.
But Emilio was comfortably sitting in his desk chair as we all scrunched on his bed.
Look, I've been very hospitable since as long as I can remember, all right? God forbid me for trying.
Didn't offer the champagne, by the way.
What?
Definitely didn't.
So you telling me I just kept them there as decor?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
I asked you why
Then
it was
where'd they
there.
go?
You said it makes it make the room look official or something. I forget what you said.
Why are you like Emilio answer though?
I swear.
Like, where are you trying to drink this shit?
We're off to a great start.
It's manifesting, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people use crystals. Emilio use champagne. You know?
He was like, when
Well, now we have both.
somebody buys my beats, that's when I'm gonna open this champagne to celebrate.
I opened it anyways because no one bought my pizza.
Oh, you didn't have to tell them that.
Jeez, Natalie, you've completely thrown me off. This is the roast of Emilio Pastor now.
Yeah. See, that's what happens when you bring women on. This is great.
You know, that was actually one of my fears too. Oh Lord. Okay, well, yeah. So we and to that point, you know, that was the cool thing about our dynamic at the club with our group was that we were not only able to just work together, but also just hang out outside of the work environment. That's something our last guest, Stu Bonson, and I were talking about, where that it's really cool when you're able to really synchronize the two.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that you work with, sometimes you see you see just as much, if not more, than you do your actual family. So it's important to have that dynamic in and outside of the workspace. So in terms of workspace, while you were working at the club, you were also modeling. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us about that? How did that start? When did it start? And where did it lead to?
Yeah. That's a loaded story. Mm-hmm. So I started when I was about like 14 years old, and it went up to like 25, 26. So there's a lot of years here. Okay. I'll try to summarize for you. So my dad's really tall. I was always like skinny and lanky. So of course people come up to me and they're like, oh, you should model, you should model. So my aunt, when I was about 14, my aunt had told me that there was a pageant coming up, which is very different than modeling, but you know, it's like a step in the right direction. And so she talked me into doing this pageant in Delaware. And what we didn't know was that there was actually a model scout there that was giving away a scholarship. And this scholarship was to teach you modeling, acting, and then bring you to a competition in New York called IMTA, which is like a week long at Hilton Hotel. There's like people from all over the world that come here, fresh faces, new talent, and a bunch of agencies and judges and things like that. So I ended up winning this scholarship, and I met with what we call like a mother agent, which is somebody who, you know, finds the talent and kind of builds them up, and then helps you find like a bigger agency to sign with, who will then get you jobs. So she taught me everything I know, and then she brought me to the competition in New York, and this is a week long. I'm doing, you know, a bunch of acting competitions. There's like a couple competitions a day. And it's just back to back. So like I might have done like a cold read, and then I went into like a runway show or something like that. And you're wearing like a number the whole week. So judges are watching you and agents are watching you, and they'll write your number down. So at the end of the week, if they want to meet with you, they'll request you by your number. So I had a bunch of callbacks, they call it, where I got to meet with agents and things like that. And mind you, at this point, I'm like 15 years old. And the people who were interested in me the most were from Japan. Mm-hmm. And I was always a little bit shorter for modeling, so I'm about 5'7". And most models are like 5'9" and up. So at the time, they wanted me to go over to Japan, and my parents were like, no way, you're 15 years old, you're still in high school, that's not happening. So me and my mother agency were a little disappointed, but we were like, okay, like, let's build you up locally, let's do some local work. So I went back to high school, and I did a lot of local work. I did, like, every single fashion week in the area. I did some photo shoots with local designers, things like that. And really like built it up where I would start showing up at local castings and people would know who I was, which was great for me. And I worked really hard on like my runway walks and things like that, because everybody always told me, you're too short for runway, you're never going to do it. So, you know, naturally I'm in my basement every single night, like practicing my runway walk. Because when somebody tells me I'm not going to do something, I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll see. So then once I graduated high school, I was still working with my mother agency, and they were like, listen, we want to bring you back, which was amazing because they already paid for me the first time and did all this for me. The fact that they wanted to bring me back was like so generous of them. And so after I graduated high school, I did IMTA again, same thing, week long. And I like started placing in things. So like I got like 7th place for model of the year. I got 2nd place for actress of the year, things like that. And then similar things happened with agencies in Japan wanted me to sign with them. And I was finally at the point where I could like make that decision. So I signed a 3-month modeling contract in Japan. So I went for my first semester of college, and then I took off my 2nd semester to go travel and work.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, I like talked with all my professors, and I was like, listen, I'm going to be back. They were like not supportive at all. And they were like, no, you're never going to graduate on time. You're not going to be successful. You obviously don't take this seriously.
So when you had that contract, how old were you and then went to Japan after your first semester?
I was 17.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I fly over by myself, 17 years old, first flight by myself, 16-hour flight. And I get there and I have to like find my way to my agency, don't know the language, like getting my way on a bus, like in a foreign country. And they took care of me, like they paid for my flight. They would give me an allowance every week, pay for my food, pay for me to live in the model house with the other girls. And I worked for 3 months there. Then I come back and I worked my butt off at college and did everything I could to graduate on time. I took summer classes, winter classes. I even changed my major, so that put me back even further. And I still graduated on time.
Nice.
And on top of that, I graduated with the highest GPA I've ever had and made it on, I think they call it like the dean's list when you have a good GPA.
Yeah.
Which was crazy for me because,
Right.
like, again, not a school person.
Yeah.
Like, not into it.
100%.
So I was super excited about that. And then I signed with an agency in New York. And then I got offered to go back to Japan.
You said where in New York?
In New York.
New York? Okay,
Yep.
okay.
So when I came back, I'm like rewinding a little bit. When I came back from Japan the first time, I went back to college and I signed with an agency in New York.
Okay.
Which was like a big deal for me because again, I'm like, they consider me shorter. People said I wouldn't do well in New York.
May I ask may I guess who this is? Was it Surface?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Wow. Oh my God, you're so educated on this. How did you know that?
Well, I had to, I had to
Okay.
do my due diligence a little bit.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
was my first agency in New York, and that was like a big deal for me. So like while I'm taking classes in college, I'm up in New York like 3 times a week doing castings and jobs and things like that while doing my schoolwork and trying to like maintain social life, all those things. So then I graduate. Then fast forward to my agency invites me back to Japan. So I go back and live there for another 3 months and work there for 3 months and live in the model house and all that. And then I came back again and signed with another agency in New York and then just started working with them. So that's like a really long, like leaving out a lot of details, but summary of what happened.
And you said
In those, I have a question.
Yeah.
In those 6 months, is that where you developed your love for like Asian like cuisine and like?
No,
aesthetic?
luckily I had that beforehand, so that was like one of the reasons I was really excited to go over because I was like obsessed with
Yeah.
Asian food.
Natalie just went on for about 10 minutes about her journey in modeling, and then
Sorry.
Jesse asked about cuisine, but that's okay.
Hey, she's a foodie.
I'm a huge foodie. I love the food questions, so
So-
no shame for that.
So you said 14 through 26.
My modeling career, yeah.
Okay. 14 to 26. You were 14 when you started, and at 17, like 15 Japan wanted you, and at 15 Japan wanted you, but
I couldn't.
you couldn't. Parents said no.
More dad, but yeah.
More dad. Understandably so, I
Yeah.
guess. And then you finished high school, and then they wanted you back, so you went there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also had all the naysayers of
Many.
telling you can't do it before.
Many,
The stereotypical reasons of height, right? And that's one of the big things
Yep.
in modeling.
Yep.
So how important was that to have all those naysayers telling you no? Like, what did that do for you?
it literally made me who I am today. Absolutely. I've like always been very stubborn. So you tell me I can't do something and I'll do it like 10 times better than I thought I'd tell you in the first place.
How about that? So, and then you graduated on time. You got your best grade possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, how did you do all that? Mind you, you're like early 20s here, like even before 20.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going on in your head when all that's happening?
I do credit a lot to my mother agency. Like, they, for some reason, just took a liking to me, which I'll always be extremely grateful for. And they helped like push me along. Like, they always just were motivating me and making myself like believe that I can do all these things and helping me along the way. My mom was always like my biggest cheerleader. Like, she always wanted to see like the local stuff I was doing.
Right.
And then I think as for education wise, like finishing that, my dad was like my motivator because he's always like wanted his kids to go to college and be successful in that area. So it was kind of like me trying to make all these people proud of me who I really love and care about.
That's awesome. So 12 years in the industry.
Yeah, I
Give or
mean,
take.
the journey started at 14, so we'll say more seriously, I started at like 16.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, so like 10 years, give or take, right?
Yeah.
So looking back in your entire journey there, what was probably your biggest takeaway that shaped you or anything of that sort, looking back?
That's tough. I think like something that I will always think about when I think of like my modeling is that I was a very shy person before I started modeling. And I think like me finding a group of people who loved something as much as I did, like really brought me out and like made me realize that I can find people who I'm like super excited to talk about and could be a little bit less shy. I think working with incredibly diverse people really like shaped me as a person, and just being able to like travel the world for it was just obviously very memorable.
Of course, all the traveling too. So
Who doesn't love that?
we have a question here from Ty. Ty, what's up?
Just speaking on your modeling journey, I know you said your dad was really the one who said no to you leaving first. Like, looking back, do you think that might have been like a good thing, or like, you know, like how do you think your life would have shaped down if you had left and stuff like that?
That's a good question. Should I repeat
Yes.
what he said? So the question was asked that my dad did say no to me leaving at 15, and if I think that that was a good decision in the end. I think that's hard to say. I think that a lot of people who are in the industry start young, and I think that can be very beneficial, and I still believe that. So I think that it could have been a completely different life if I started at 15, but I don't know if I would say it would be like negative or positive. I think it would just be very different. But I am glad that I went to college because I met a lot of really lovely people. So in that way, I would say, yeah, like I'm really glad that I was able to meet the people that I did. And if I went at 15, I definitely would not have met them.
Would you do it again?
Oh, 100 times over.
Would you do it differently?
No.
Okay.
No.
So what caused Natalie to exit the industry? Is Natalie still in the industry? Or
Natalie's not in the industry anymore.
So what caused the exit?
Lots of things. There's a lot of things about modeling that people don't understand, and things that are hard to explain unless you're in it, which, you know, a lot of people say that, but it's true. The initial reason was COVID. When COVID hit, it changed a lot of things for everybody. But right before COVID was kind of like where I was feeling like peak of my career, and then it all kind of came crashing down, and it was very discouraging. But it was also eye-opening in certain ways because with COVID, they changed the way that they did castings and things like that. So they started doing it virtually. And it just, in my opinion, took too much time for something I'm not getting paid for. I think time is very valuable, and when I used to go on castings, I would drive up and meet with people in person, and it would be like, 1 to 2 minutes? It's very quick. When I'm like self-casting on my phone, it takes me like hours because I'm rewatching it. It has to be perfect. And I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't do it. And then also they just started to get more specific, which is something that hurt me because my entire career, the entire success of my career was based off of people giving me chances, basically. And I couldn't do that anymore because originally it would be like a company would reach out to my agency and say, send me 5 girls who are super sporty. And then they'd send them, and they would pick like those 5 girls who fit that. And then when COVID happened, it turned into, send me 3 girls who are super sporty, have blue eyes, blonde hair, and are this exact height, and have 3 years of campaigns that they've done. So I wasn't able to thrive in that industry, and I didn't see it changing anytime soon. It also became like very social media heavy based, which I tried to keep up with for a little bit, but it's not my forte. I like social media, but I don't like being hired or not because of the number of followers that I have. So a lot of things were changing, and I wasn't liking the way that it was changing. And I felt like when I looked back on all the things that I had accomplished, I was very happy with what I had and happy with moving on to the next chapter in my life.
So you brought up something that caught my attention of all those things. Specifically when you brought up, they got very specific about what they wanted. Mm-hmm. And, it became very social media-esque, which is what a lot of companies are moving into in today's world. And you also brought up how it's not your forte and, followings and likes and all that stuff. I did see in one of your posts a while back, you saying in the caption, saying as like, I think it was somewhere in the lines, I'm going to paraphrase here, it says, oh, well, now that Instagram no longer shows likes, I guess I can finally start posting again. Uh-huh. Is that why?
No, I think that, there was a phase where my agency had said to me, Natalie, listen, like, you have the content. I need you to post it because people are asking me how many followers you have when I submit you. And I was like, okay, like, I guess I'll try to, like, amp that up a bit. And then I think especially when I was away in Japan, I got a little bit caught up in it. And I was like, oh, man, like, this post didn't do well today. My agency's going to see that and, like, maybe say something. And when they took the likes away, I was like, yes, like, this is great. Like, I don't want to have to worry about that. Like, I just want to post what I want to post. Mm-hmm. And I think also, like, I had to post myself whenever I posted. Like, people didn't like when I posted, like, I don't know, like, photo dumps. Like, people do that now. Mm-hmm. But, like, if you did that, like, at that time, right, you would get, like, 100 likes. Right. And my agency's looking for, like, 900. Right. And, like, I would post something that's, like, meaningful to me and nobody would care. And then I'd post my face and I'm like, I post this every single day. But that would, like, get a lot of likes. And I'm like, I'm so bored of posting my face. Like, you guys have seen me. Like, right. I want to post, like, other things. So then that I can't help but wonder. So, because you mentioned about the pressures about likes. Because it's one thing as a model worrying about what you look like physical, like, numbers like weight, height, mm-hmm, eye color, hair, et cetera, but the social media comes into place. Now there's likes, engagement, even further and further. What does that do to a model mentally? That's a good question. I don't think I'm someone who was affected by it too much, and I think I'm very lucky in that because I saw other girls who it did affect. I've always been very confident in who I am and how I look, and not in, like, a conceited way, but of that I'm very grateful for, the body that I was given, and I try not to get too caught up in, like, oh, I could fix this, I could fix that. But definitely, like, if you're focused on social media and people are telling you need to, like, do better on it, it's like, you get lost in it because I'm like working. And that's the other thing with like modeling. Like, I think something that people don't understand is there's a lot of behind the scenes work that you're not getting paid for. I'm on my phone, like trying to get, you know, all these likes and post all these things and do these casting videos. And it's like, I'm not getting a dime for this. Yeah. Like, I'm putting all this into my brand or whatever you want to call it. But like, I'm not getting paid on a daily to spend 10 hours doing all of this.
Right. Wow. So, since you weren't too affected by that, right, just because you were confident who you are, you know how you look like and all that stuff, as you mentioned, you saw a lot of people that were affected by that.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing today.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not a model.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a model, just in your ability to stay true to yourself and be confident in yourself, is there a message or anything you would you would tell yourself that you think maybe someone else will benefit from?
Maybe just like drowning out the noise of like what everybody else is doing, what everybody else looks like just feel good about yourself, find things that you like, and when somebody compliments you, like take that to heart. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't take compliments well, and it's like if they're going out of their way to compliment you, like they mean it. And I think I saw a lot of girls in my industry like not being able to do things like that. And yeah, I think just worrying about yourself, like trying not to look at other people's pages and be like, oh, they have better this, they have better that.
Right.
Trying not to do that.
Ty, you have a question?
Yeah. So as we were talking, I noticed you were saying like you didn't like the direction the modeling as a career was going in, and as you speak more about it, do you feel like modeling as a career choice is more becoming like a social media not add-on but add-on in a way, like you're more a model based on your social media status rather than your actual modeling physique or anything like that, or anything you do in person or in real life?
So I would like to piggyback off this question because it's exactly where I was shifting. So great job listening. But Ty was essentially saying, he was asking about the future of modeling and whether or not it's becoming more, I guess, in short term is clout based.
Yeah.
More than actual appearance based. So in terms of, is that where do you think the future of modeling is going, or what's your outlook on that? Is that amongst the line of what you were asking, Ty? Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to say like black and white. I think yes, obviously it is moving in that direction. I think you can even see with like celebrities now, like I feel like they do a lot of things that normally they would hire like a model for, and it's like, oh well, you know, Addison Wright is going to get more clicks than, you know, this girl we found at a casting. So definitely I think that a lot of the celebrities or like people on TikTok and people famous on Instagram are taking a lot of those jobs. Absolutely. And I get why the companies are doing it, because it gets more attention.
Right.
It is what it is. But, you know, the girls who have worked hard and, you know, are good at posing, know how to find their light, things like that, they aren't being taken into consideration anymore. So it's like, I've worked so hard, like I know all these things about like behind the camera and stuff like that, and they'll still pick somebody else because they're like, oh well,
likes, follows, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's so true. So and that makes me think a little bit, because it really we move away more from quality of things and more into the quantity of things, in terms of, as you said, some really focus on the craft of modeling, versus now businesses are looking more towards like the bottom line. What's going to bring in more numbers, what's going to bring more engagement, what's going to bring more money, right? So it's a shame that it's being looked at that way, because you're really focusing on the end product and not really more of like, I guess, the journey of that product.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. Do you still speak to a lot of the people in the industry?
Not really.
Really?
No, I think that something I also kind of learned in the modeling industry is everything's temporary. Relationships are temporary. Situations are temporary. People caring about you are temporary. Like, I've been good friends with designers who blew up, and I helped them so much in the beginning and did shoots with them, and they act like I don't exist anymore. So, like, everything is temporary and it happens, but...
Well, Natalie, when I was a designer for a short period of time, 7 years later, I'm still here. So I'm glad I'm not one of them.
Thanks for not forgetting me.
Well, I definitely forgot about the... Yes.
Do you think that shaped you as, like, an individual when you're meeting new people? Like,
That's a good question.
when you come up to someone and some of us may be like, oh, wow, this person's going to be in my life a long time. Or you
So,
one quick to just be like,
I think...
well, no, it's temporary.
I think what Jesse's asking, did that change the way you look at people's intentions when they approach you on building a relationship with you or starting a relationship with you? Is that...
Yeah, and relationship can be very
Yeah.
broad. Friendship, like couple, like,
Yeah.
dating or whatever it may be.
You know,
Yeah.
Stu in his
Business-wise, yeah.
Stu in his episode, he said, you can be moderate friends with some people, but you shouldn't be really friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Because you're naive to what could come with it. And then someone responded to that and said, we're really underutilizing the term acquaintances. So did that change your perspective on what people's intentions are when it comes to approaching you in a friendship or whatever kind of relationship?
I wouldn't say that alone did it. I think many things in life, like, definitely build up to that point. But yeah, I think I am more cautious, like, when I meet people and their intentions of, them saying, like, this is just a very basic example, but, like, best friends forever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, we'll see. But
Yeah.
So, the follow-up question, does that keep you from being as open as you wish to be? Or are you as open with everyone no matter if you know it's temporary?
yeah, so the question is, like, am I more or less open because of that? I don't know. I don't think I've ever, like, delved into my self-thought like that. I appreciate that question. I don't know.
All right. Well, Jesse, you can take my seat here.
It's a very deep question.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Jess, about modeling, like, the way you started to speak about it at the very end, was it something that you did, like, for the fun of it? Like, you enjoyed the actual act of, like, walking runway and, like, walking, and acting and stuff like that? Like, was it enjoyable for you as a craft?
Yeah, the question is did I, like, genuinely enjoy modeling? And my answer is absolutely. I've never enjoyed anything more in my life, and I've never been more passionate about anything in my life. So I think when I decided to no longer do it, it was a very big shift for me, and it was very emotional because since I was 14, I kind of identified myself with this dream and built it up for all those years. And then to think of myself not having that, like, not only I associated myself with it, but I think a lot of people learned to associate me with modeling.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is this life without modeling? I don't know.
I just know you as a girl that wouldn't leave my bottles of Prosecco alone.
I'm really glad that that's how you remember me.
So 10 to 12 years in the industry, exited, found out some truths, and a lot of what people, say about the industry or might not know about it unless they're in it, apparently are true. Things like, some of the relationships are temporary, some of the care is temporary. Did we say whether or not it did affect how people approach you with their intentions now? Is it overall?
No, I mean, like, with that, there's also a lot of people who, again, I said in the beginning, who have, like, helped me along the way, and I will always be grateful for them. But I don't, like, hold any grudges on anybody. Like, everybody's out here just trying to, like, make it, so I don't blame them for, putting themselves as number one.
That reminds me a lot of New York. I know you spent time in there, too. That's literally what New York is like. It's like everybody is on their own agenda.
Yep.
Everybody's on their own journey. And it's a great place to, build who you are, who you know, and what it is you do. Nothing personal, as they say.
Yeah.
Not personal, just business.
Yep.
But okay, that's very interesting. I'm very happy you were able to share that, and also not just your journey, but what meant the mental aspect of things.
Yeah.
And just being able to share that message with other people. But I am a little curious. you go from modeling, and now you're a wedding/event coordinator. I know at the club you said you were initially interested, in event coordinator, but now we're back there.
Now we're here.
So now we're here.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Yeah. Starting from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah, so I mean, it always had been in the back of my brain. That's actually why I switched to communications at college, because I had the idea of, I went in initially for interior design because I really liked the idea of manipulating spaces and also like decorating spaces and making them your own. So then once I decided not to continue in interior design, I was like, well, what's another way I can do that? And that's event planning or coordinating. And so when COVID hit, I was like, okay, my plan B back into place. I really want to try wedding coordinating. And so I found a place and they gave me a shot and it's gone really well. And I'm super happy that it took me in that direction.
That seems to be a common theme. People give you a shot.
They do.
Why?
I don't know. What do I do?
Apparently, I just need to be around you this time because people just give shots around you.
Yeah. I guess I'm lovable. I don't know.
and that we went on a break real quick before we transitioned back in, and then we got you your prosecco.
Yeah.
So she now has a prosecco. And, remember, drink responsibly. Must be 21 years or older. in the U.S. at least. So. How long have you been doing that now for?
2 years?
2 years? Okay.
Yeah, it's new.
Yeah, it's definitely new because it definitely caught me by surprise. Like, this is what you're doing now? Okay, that's interesting. So, you pivoted into it, and can we dive into how you got into it?
Sure. It's not like anything, but I was just looking for those types of jobs specifically online, and I found one that interested me. And I didn't need like 3 years of experience to apply. And
so they didn't have a minimum follower count.
They did not.
Okay,
yes, thank goodness they did not.
That's good.
So then I interviewed and they trained me. And that's how I got into it.
So 2 years in, what has been your biggest takeaway in that?
Of weddings?
Yeah, So yeah, specifically, for you weddings, like seeing all that happen, what is that like for you? Like, does it, like emotionally, like when you're dealing with all that, what are some interesting things you see in there?
People are crazy.
Really?
Have you seen a bride walk out on their groom yet?
Have you seen a bride walk?
not.
No, this is not an episode of Love Is Blind. This is not an episode of Love Is Blind.
If you want it to be, but you haven't seen a bride walk out on their groom yet?
Jesse is asking if Natalie has seen someone walk out on someone yet.
No, I wouldn't let that happen. Come on.
Yeah, because I guess, it wouldn't be a reflection on you if the service is bad. I guess it'd be more a reflection on the service.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
no.
it's a reflection of their love.
Unless it was a really bad event.
Yeah, they're like, listen, I don't know who's in charge here, but we're leaving.
Okay, so what are you able to share some interesting moments that you've experienced in the 2 years there?
Sure. I think the biggest thing I realized is a lot of people love using the word bridezilla. It's not a thing.
Bridezilla, what does that mean?
You've never heard of that?
I have never heard of Bridezilla. I've heard
Has
of Godzilla.
anybody else heard of bridezilla? Okay, thank
I've
you.
heard of
Everybody
Godzilla.
but Emilio.
Go figure. I also found out not too long ago what a shotgun wedding was.
Okay.
Wait, did I teach you that?
Wait, did you go to a shotgun wedding?
Low-key, yeah.
Anyways.
I don't specialize in that, so.
Shotgun wedding?
Thankfully, there's not an actual shotgun in the wedding. Yeah. Okay, so Bridezilla, what is that?
Yes. So a bridezilla is something that people have used to kind of weaponize against women planning their weddings, I feel like.
Really?
And I feel like that's the most common question I get is oh, well, how many bridezillas have you dealt with? It's when a bride is very mean or very demanding, yeah, about, particular, yeah, about what they want. Honestly, I don't see it. I think if anything, a lot of the grooms don't involve themselves in the planning, and then it makes the woman more stressed. So
Involve
ourselves more?
So yes, men. A woman is finally on the podcast, so men
Bridezilla.
step it up.
This sounds like an Urban Dictionary definition. Jack, can you do us a huge favor and look up the definition of bridezilla on Urban Dictionary? I'm curious to hear the definition of that.
Okay.
So you haven't dealt with anyone like that before?
I mean, I've dealt with stressed out people. Like, that's what I like to call it.
I imagine dealing with any event is stressful.
Very.
Any.
I like run on adrenaline.
Do you want
Yeah.
the Urban Dictionary specifically? Because there's a Google just straight.
Yeah, it's just a straight.
Give us both. Give us both.
Google says a woman whose behavior in planning her wedding is regarded as obsessive or intolerably demanding.
An obsessive or intolerably
Intolerably demanding. That's a
demanding.
really good way to put it.
lady in her wedding.
Urban
That is the Google
Dictionary
definition.
says-
Urban Dictionary. What does Urban Dictionary say?
I don't know.
It says one ridiculous spoiled bitch thinks she is the center of the universe just because her show, the wedding, is 18 months from now.
Can I please see that?
I don't like that definition.
Okay. By the way,
I don't think we need to repeat that.
I will censor myself here.
Like anticipation of the wedding, like up to the build up. I've always heard of it and like day of, like
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
That dictionary makes it sound like it's something like 18 months out. Like
Yeah.
Like,
So, guys, back in the early days, I would say Wikipedia is not a reliable resource. These days, they're okay with it. I think that's where Urban Dictionary is going. So, Urban Dictionary's definition of bridezilla is one ridiculous, spoiled, bitch, that thinks she is the center of the universe just because her quote-unquote show, the wedding, is 18 months from now. Everyone else in the world has to drop everything and come running in this prime Donna's mind. The marriage will not last more than a couple of years if the groom-to-be is lucky. You know what my favorite part about Urban Dictionary is?
English isn't this first
All right, whatever. ESL.
What's your favorite?
Oh, this one doesn't have... what's my favorite part about Urban Dictionaries? The sentences they use.
What,
ever
the
seen that?
examples?
Yeah, the examples.
Yeah.
Please shut up about your effing wedding, bridezilla.
Have you said that before, Natalie?
No.
It's not whether or not you said it. Did you think it?
No. Again, I truly, I think that it's a way to, put all the pressure on the woman, and I think that's what happens in the planning process. The groom just typically doesn't do much, and it's now this poor woman has to not only plan everything, but also deal with your family and deal with her family. And then you show up as the groom acting like you have no idea what's going on, and it's I would literally be so angry.
Natalie, you should probably be in politics because that's a very political answer.
Really?
So have you seen the opposite where a man has been very present for his wedding?
Yes.
A man has been very present for his
Yes. I have had it flip
Have you
the
ever
script.
seen him? Jesse just asked if you ever seen a man who's, what,
present in his planning.
so what would be the opposite of a bridezilla? A groomzilla?
Groomzilla.
Well, I'm not asking if she's had a groomzilla. I'm asking if she's had a very involved
So have you had a groomzilla?
I haven't had a groomzilla,
Okay.
but Jesse's question is more, have I had a groom who's been very involved? And the answer is yes. I've had some grooms who were more involved than the woman.
The bride was
Then the woman.
calm,
Yeah.
more happy, more.
Say that again.
Did you notice that the bride was more happy or more?
Was the bride more happy when the groom was in charge, basically?
more involved?
No. I feel like if the groom is more in charge, the woman's I'm having a cocktail over here. Don't bother me. Not.
She was just chilling.
She's just chilling. Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love that.
Wow. So I'm curious to hear about, now that you've been in this space, personally, has that changed your perspective on wedding, on
If I want to have a wedding?
right?
On a marriage.
Is that what they
No.
call it?
I think I've been lucky in having a lot of great couples. And I love weddings. I love any event where it brings people together and they're excited to just be celebrating life. I think that's so fun. So that's why I got into it. And I think I probably more want to have a wedding now because I've seen all the things that you can do and how creative you can get. I think the scariest part about a wedding is dealing with the family, for sure. Everybody has an opinion.
Do
Do you get like follow up like Christmas like pictures like from the couples that you wed?
Yes. So the question is, do I get like follow-up pictures from the people who have coordinating weddings? They send it to the company that I work for, and sometimes they'll send like a card with one of their pictures from the wedding day, and they'll like say, you know, thank you, Natalie, and whoever else was involved for making my day special, and it's very sweet.
Okay. So it hasn't jaded Natalie's POV of a wedding. If anything, it has flourished and encouraged a wedding day for Natalie. So,
have you like witnessed any like interesting traditions from maybe a culture you're not used to, but it's by coordinating these weddings?
Yeah, the question is, have I seen like culture at other weddings and like learned new things? And I definitely have.
big shout out to the audience today, by the way.
Yeah, great question.
This is the audience podcast, the AP.
Yeah, I've learned so many things about traditions and different things that people do in cultures and the way that they celebrate through ceremonies or food or blessings and things like that. It's very interesting.
Have you had to be involved in any of them?
Have I had to be involved in any of them? I'm involved in everything basically. So like the day of, like I'm running the show. So
Yes.
Whatever they're doing, I'm doing basically.
She has to test the glassware before they break it. She has to test the broom. She has to test the chair before they lift it. All that kind of stuff, you know? So, Natalie, are you going to continue doing this for the longer term, or is this chapter at this time?
I don't know. I think ever since I stopped modeling, that was always like my vision for life. And once that was kind of like cut, right now I'm just kind of like, I'm living life. I'm happy. Like whatever comes next, comes next.
Because you've been in this for 2 years. You did the modeling thing for 10 years. So you had a long run then.
I had a long run, yeah.
So this could be a long run thing too.
It could be.
It could be. Mm-hmm. Who knows what the future holds, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of that, about things that you love enjoying doing so much, traveling is one of them.
Yes.
Please tell us about that. I mean, God, you are in so many places. You recently went in Thailand. Mm-hmm. Why does Natalie like to travel so much?
I think that
I'm curious to look at your passport, actually.
Okay, so actually, they tried to take my passport away because it expired not that long ago, and I was so upset because I was like, I have all these stamps in here of all the places I've been. So you have to get a new passport, you have to send them your old one. So I wrote a note, like a really long thought-out note, and I was like, listen, I have been to so many places. I have so many stories about all the stamps that I've gotten. Please send me back my passport, because I've heard of people not getting it back. And they were kind enough to send it back to me. There's a bunch of hole punches in it, so you know it's like you can't use it, but I have all of it still, which is very nice. But ever since I was young, my parents took me to places, and I think I just fell in love with seeing the different way that like people live and just seeing like different landscapes, and it's incredible to see how different people live on a daily basis. Like we're here like sitting on a couch and I know what it looks like outside, but somebody could be doing the same thing and outside looks like a whole nother planet. Like I want to see everything.
Okay. So can you list some of the places you have been?
Sure. Obviously Tokyo, Japan, number one. Iceland, I've been to Canada, I've been to Italy, and I've been to a lot of places in the US. Am I missing anything? I've been to like St. John, St. Croix, but those are like little islands.
Okay.
Part of the US.
Do you have a top 2, top 3?
You have to give me like more than that. Like I would
so,
return or
let's see, no, not about returning, more so as the most memorable to you. That gives you like the most like, because for me, I went to Iceland, right?
Yep.
And I would have never expected to end up in Iceland because I'm a beach guy. I like the beach. I like laying by the sun. I like having a coconut on my hand, and drinking out of the coconut. Iceland is not that place.
No.
At all. But there was a feeling that Iceland gave me when I went there. It's almost like a fever dream. I described it earlier.
Yeah.
Almost like nostalgia in a way when I look back at it now. In that kind of point of view.
Every time that I've been somewhere, I've been with people who also made my experience meaningful. So I might be, judging based off of that. But obviously Japan is one of them. That's definitely like number one on the list because I was there for a substantial amount of time. I kind of like think of it as a place that I lived, basically. And then I think number 2 would be Italy.
Italy, okay.
I just think like I was in like Positano with a bunch of my college roommates on spring break, and it's probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. So it's very memorable.
Okay. Are you familiar with that? Positano?
What was the place called?
Positano, Italy.
Never heard of
Do
it.
you know what like major city it was closest to? Or, like northern Italy, southern Italy, somewhere in the middle, maybe?
We started out in Rome,
Okay.
and then we went to Positano, the Amalfi Coast. It's in the Amalfi Coast. And then we went to Capri. So it's in that vicinity.
Okay, so got you. Like a little southern vibe, Naples. I went to Capri this summer. Awesome place.
You did? Okay, yeah. hmm
Well, I went to Capri this summer.
It's similar. It's in a similar area.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it.
It's beautiful, right? Yeah.
What did you really enjoy about Italy, other than the people you were with?
Yeah, I think it was just like the views are beautiful. I think the culture there is very fun. And again, I think just the people that I with like made it really fun.
I mean that's a very general answer. Give me something more specific.
I don't know.
I mean, you say the culture, like what the people. They like to party. Like their
Yeah.
parties are fun. They have
Yeah.
handsome men out there. Their drinks are good.
Yeah.
Are they really having Aperol spritz at 5:00 in the evening?
Yes. They
You know.
drink wine like water. You have to pay for water there, and
You don't have to pay for wine.
well, you have to pay for wine, but I feel like in some places it was cheaper to buy wine than it was to buy water.
Really?
Yes. Wow. And I think
going to
I don't know. I think I just had so many special moments there. Like me and my friends, we were hiking, and we had heard that at the top of this hike there was like a really good overlook, and there's like this circle made out of a rock that you can kind of sit in. And we didn't know what we were doing, and we're like hiking, and we can kind of see it in the distance, but we don't have like a pathway that we're following. We're just going up, and so we're like hiking, and we probably like did more stairs than a person is supposed to do in a day. And when we got to the top, there's this family who brought like a 6-foot table, a linen, and are having like a proper dinner just on the side of a mountain. And they greet us, and they're like, hey, like, come eat this cheese bread, and here's some wine, and saying all this stuff in Italian that I don't understand, but they're like celebrating that we're up there with them. And I'm like, first of all, how did you get this table up here? And second of all, like, this is so nice that you're just sharing all your food with us. And we had like many instances like that. Like we were at dinner one night, and this family next to us was like, hey, just pull up some chairs, come sit with us. They bought us all this food. We're just talking. And I feel like we had a lot of things like that happen. So the people are just like fun to be around.
That's so interesting how really, other than the actual destination itself, what really makes it most memorable is the people that when you're around and the people you get to meet, right? Because that's where really like a lot of the memories are built out of. That's so interesting. But here, Natalie, let's switch it up here a little bit. We went into wedding and event planning. Then we went to traveling. Let's do a speed round.
Oh boy.
So people can learn and be educated on this, because God, Lord knows I'm
Okay.
a little silly and not aware of any of this stuff.
Okay.
Because, I do love my steak. I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't offend. Is that offensive?
I mean, you're
Is it?
fine.
Is it? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm canceled, guys. We're not making it. This episode might not see the light of day. All right. So veganism. The speed round. What is it?
Veganism is a lifestyle, not a diet. And it's when you avoid any things in life that would cause unnecessary harm to another living being, which is animals in our perspective.
Okay. Why did you do it?
There was a lot of things that led up to it. I think originally it was learning about the industry and feeling a little bit lied to about what people sell you on the idea of what a normal American diet is. And then it evolved into doing it for the animals.
How has it changed your life?
Drastically. I think your day-to-day lifestyle, in the beginning, it's hard for other people to get adjusted, not necessarily you. And I think now it kind of shows me who cares at the end of the day, because like I'll have a lot of my friends who will invite me to lunch and they'll be like, oh my God, I saw this new vegan place and thought of you and let's go there. And then there's some people who are like, oh yeah, I want to go here. Hopefully you can find something to eat.
Ooh. Wow. Is it for everybody? Can anyone do it?
Anybody can do it. Yes.
Is it for everyone?
I don't know. I can't tell you how to live your life.
Okay. If you had to sell it, what would you say?
I would say think about your dogs and cats at home. Why do you treat them so well and then others not so well when they're actually all living beings who want to live life and deserve to be loved just as much as your pets at home?
How long have you been doing it?
I think 5 years now.
All right. So that's veganism.
There it is.
Any questions on that? Okay. There you go. So, Natalie, where is the future of your growth going to come from?
I don't know. I think, again, kind of like I said earlier, you're saying like in the future, where am I? I think at this point in life, I'm kind of just like living it day by day. I'm very open to any opportunities that come my way. And I think I didn't used to be like that. I was very like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I want to see happen next. And now I'm just kind of like, whatever life throws at me, like, let's go.
All right. You've grown and changed a lot over the years. What has been your biggest lesson so far?
My biggest lesson, I think it goes back to the temporary thing that I talked about. I think that's something that I kind of live by now, and not in a negative way. Like, it doesn't need to be a negative light, but everything in life is temporary in a way of situations. So appreciate where you're at and the people who are here right now. Thoughts, what you think right now is may not be something that you think later. And again, just like appreciate what's going on now, because you never know what'll happen tomorrow.
I was going to ask you what's your message to the world, but
that's it.
You kind of just gave it to us. So, does anyone have any closing questions, remarks, anything? Juan?
Yeah, so you said you did a pageant as a very young teen.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you're an adult, how do you like view that like whole environment, I guess, or scene? Like, what are your opinions on that now as an adult?
Yeah. The question is I talked about how I did a pageant when I was younger, and how do I view that now as like children doing pageants? I was very fortunate to do something that was like smaller. So like stuff you see on TV where girls are getting like, you know, like Dance Moms kind of vibes. I wasn't a part of that. So in my situation, I very much enjoyed it for the time being, and I don't think that there was anything negative about my situation there. And the girls were super sweet and very nice, and I didn't expect that. Like, going into it, I was like, oh my gosh, all these girls are gonna be catty and they're gonna bully me and all these things, and they were some of the sweetest people I've ever met. So I think I personally had a good experience. That doesn't mean that necessarily all pageants are like that, because I was in a smaller one. So
Jazz, you had a question?
Yeah. The question is how long did it take me to transition into veganism? So when I first discovered veganism, the hardest thing for me to give up was raw fish, because I was a huge sushi fan. Like, I ate sushi like every day. So I started off small, and just said to myself, you know, what are things that I can see myself doing? And it was basically everything but sushi. So I would be okay if I, like, quote unquote, made a mistake. Some vegans don't like when you talk like that, but I think there's room for mistakes if you've been brought up for, like, I mean, I think I was 20 at that point. So for 20 years for you to eat a certain way and then all of a sudden switch like that, it's not going to happen. So I think, like, giving yourself room to make mistakes and learn more. Like, you may eat something and be like, oh my God, I had no idea that had milk powder in it. The amount of things that have milk powder in it is crazy when you start looking at ingredients. So I definitely, like, gave myself room, and eating sushi was one of the biggest things. And I just kept saying to myself, I have this goal and I'm eventually going to get there. And that took me about a year to give up. But everything else, I was fully vegan. That's what they all say. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, Natalie, from your upbringings in Delaware, from your St. Mark's days, all the way to your now wedding and event coordinating days. What a conversation. What a conversation. Things I've never gotten to speak to you about before.
Yeah.
In the time I've known you. And I've known you for some time now. But I'm very glad that you were able to come on here and share the story with us, and definitely engage everybody here as well. As I said, you know, this was like the audience podcast more than anything.
I love it.
Which makes it that much more fun. So thank you so much, Natalie Wisleur, for being here. Can you share where people can find you? Is that something you care to share?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram at NATALIE WISLER, like you said earlier.
Now, how's that spelled?
WISLAHH.
HH, two H's. On Instagram. All right.
With Natalie in the front.
Natalie, any questions you have for the audience or me while you're here?
I feel like I had one earlier and then I already used it, but we can repeat it since it wasn't on the podcast. But just, like, in hopes of future for the podcast for you, what is it? What's the future holding?
So this is, for those that don't know, this is a 100 podcast. This is a 100 episode test, right? And within that 100 episode test, we're constantly looking to grow, to put in simple terms, 1% every day. And whether it be in terms of capacity, revenue, opportunities, whatever you may put it as, that's all areas we're looking to explore. So we don't know what the future holds, but we're working day by day to make it a better day the next day.
And have more women on
and
here.
have more women. Yes, we will be having a lot more ladies on with interesting backgrounds such as Natalie. So definitely look forward to that. We currently have I want to say 87 to 13% split men and women. So hopefully this brings us more of a female audience.
I love it.
13%.
You'd be surprised how regular that is on the podcast industry. Unless you're H3 where you're like 50-50.
Oh, wait, you were saying there's more men than women that watch?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What's the percentage again?
At like around 87 to 13
Okay.
right now for us.
Probably because you haven't had any women on.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So I'd be expecting at least 20 now. But yeah, Natalie, thank you so much. This has been such a fun episode of the EP podcast with you. It's been so good seeing you, so good chatting it up with you.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have you on in the future. You could tell us more about your journey.
Yeah.
Because we definitely want to know more about those bridezillas or not. But yes, thank you so much. This has been so fun. Another episode of the EP podcast. If you haven't already, please like, comment, share, thumbs up. Give it all the love in the world. And if you haven't also visited our new website is eppodcast.us, where you can find merchandise such as this one here. We now have the official EP Podcast Polo. There's a lot more to come. You can shop a lot more stuff there. Please do. But yeah, this has been an episode of the EP Podcast. Thank you so much, everyone. And we're out.